Hi kids, I got another great story to read to you today. We're going to read The Fox and the Blue Jay by Michael Earl. And this is illustrated by Owen Richardson. Okay, so here we go. The Fox and the Blue Jay. It was a beautiful day, better than most. A spring rain had just passed through the valley. The sun was beginning to break through the clouds. The rain made everything more colorful and vibrant. The flowers, the leaves, the rocks, everything was so clean and smelled wonderful. The blue jay sat high on his favorite branch overlooking the pristine forest. He loved the rain. It always made him feel good. The blue jay came from a long line of very bright and handsome jays. The brilliance of his blue feathers was only equaled by the bright blue sky above. The white feathers of his breast were a pure white like the new fallen snow, all highlighted by a few rich black feathers. He was very proud. This kind of coloring was only found in the best genetic lines of blue jays. His father often told him how fortunate he was to be the son of great ancestors and how it was a privilege to continue this great tradition. The blue jay had just enjoyed a wonderful lunch of seeds and nuts with a delicious red berry to top it off. He was lucky to get the berry. They were very rare and hard to find because all of the animals liked to eat them. The blue jay was sitting on his branch singing a song that was handed down from his father and his father's father for generations. It had a beautiful melody and was recognized by blue jays all around to be the most wonderful of all songs. As the blue jay sat there singing, as content as any jay could be, when he heard a voice calling from below. Hello there, Mr. Blue Jay. You sound wonderful today." The jay looked down and immediately became frightened. It was a fox. Why would a fox talk to a bird? "What is it that makes you so happy?" asked the fox. Realizing that he was safe on a high branch, the blue jay replied, "I have just had a very nice lunch." "I have had a delicious lunch myself," the fox said. "I ate my fill of these wonderful berries. Would you like some?" The jay looked down at the fox. He had a large pile of beautiful red berries. Naturally suspicious, the jay asked, "Why would you give me some of your berries?" "I have had quite enough, and I have some to spare. Come down here and help yourself," the fox generously offered. Still suspicious, the bird moved to a lower branch to get a better look. The berries did look very tasty, but after much consideration, the jay decided to pass on the offer. He was quite full and really did not need anything else. He also remembered his father telling him how his uncle narrowly escaped being eaten by a fox years ago. "Don't trust a fox. They are very sly and dangerous." The words were as clear now as the day when his father had spoken them years ago. The blue jay was curious, though. "Where did you get all those berries?" he asked. "I know where all the berry bushes are. I can have them whenever I like," the fox replied. "Then tell me where to go, and I will get some. I won't tell anyone else," the jay pleaded. "I'm afraid that's out of the question. If you want some, you'll have to take some of these," the fox insisted. "Well, not this time. Thanks anyway." The blue jay flew away to his nest, but was still thinking of the berries. The next morning the blue jay awoke feeling very hungry. He immediately began thinking about what he could eat, which is what he did every morning. The jay got up and began flying around, looking for nuts and seeds. And berries! Those wonderful berries! If he could find some of those berries, he would be very happy. As the jay was flying around, he saw the fox down on the ground below. "I wonder if that's the fox from yesterday," he thought, and swooped down for a closer look. As he got nearer, he could see several red berries between the paws of the fox. "It is him," the jay said to himself. The bird flew down and landed on a nearby branch. "Good morning," the jay said to the fox. "That looks like a very fine breakfast you're having." "Hello there, Mr. Blue Jay. How are you today?" asked the fox. "Very well, thank you," replied the blue jay, hungrily eyeing the berries. "Won't you join me?" The fox sounded very friendly. The jay hesitated. "I would love to, but how could I trust you not to eat me?" The fox quickly answered, "Why would I eat you when I have these wonderful berries?" That was a very good point. The berries certainly would taste better than a blue jay. Besides, if the fox made a threatening move, the jay could simply fly away. The blue jay landed softly several feet from the fox. "I have only a few today, but you are welcome to what I have left." The fox pushed 4 berries toward the bird. Warily, the jay took the berries, pulled them further away from the fox, and began eating them. These are very good. Thank you so much. The berries tasted wonderful. They were plump and juicy. The jay could not imagine a better breakfast. They didn't quite fill him up as much as seeds and nuts would, but the berries tasted much better. Later on that day, the blue jay got hungry earlier than usual. He thought that perhaps it was the berries he'd had for breakfast. They really hadn't filled him up, so now he would need something else. He soon found some seeds and made them do, but what he really wanted more was the berries. The jay looked for the fox, but he was nowhere to be found. The next day the fox was easy to find. The blue jay had just only been looking for a few minutes when he saw the fox lazily munching on berries at the top of a nearby hill. Gliding down, the bird landed near the fox and said, "Hello, Mr. Fox. I was thinking that perhaps you would like to share some berries this morning." "Well, maybe I could," the fox replied. "I was wondering if you could spare some feathers. My bed is very hard and cold. I think some feathers would help. Maybe we could make a trade." "A trade?" The bird thought for a moment. "What kind of trade?" he asked. "How about one feather for one berry?" queried the fox. The jay thought about the proposition. He had plenty of feathers lining his nest, and he certainly could spare some. After all, the fox was very generous to share his berries. The blue jay could easily give him a few feathers. "I'll be right back." The bird was off to his nest, thinking about how many berries he wanted. "Yesterday 4 berries were not enough to fill me up. Today I will need 6. Arriving at his nest, Jay quickly selected 6 feathers, flew back to the fox, and presented them. "These feathers are very beautiful," complimented the fox, while counting out 6 berries. The blue jay quickly ate the berries and was very satisfied. Now the bird had all morning to do whatever he wanted. Usually he spent most of his time looking for food, but since it was so easy trading feathers for food, he had a lot of spare time. Today he would go back to the nest and sleep, even if it wasn't quite so soft as it used to be. As the days passed, this arrangement with the fox worked out quite well for the blue jay. His nest, however, was getting a little uncomfortable. "Small price to pay to eat so well," the bird would tell his friends. One morning the blue jay looked at his nest and realized that he had only 2 feathers left. By this time he was eating up to 9 berries a day. His remaining 2 feathers would only bring him 2 berries. That simply would not be enough. He took the feathers to the fox and asked, "I have only 2 feathers today. Would it be possible to get 6 berries? I'll pay you 4 extra feathers tomorrow." "I'm sorry, I can't do that," said the fox sympathetically. "Why don't you give me some of the feathers you have on? Surely you don't need all the ones you're wearing." The blue jay was shocked. How could the fox expect him to pull out feathers for the berries? He needed his feathers. Besides, it would hurt. "I'll take the 2 berries." The jay quickly ate the berries and flew to his nest of twigs, skulking. "I'll be all right," the bird bravely said. "I'll have a few seeds." With that, he was off to look for seeds. After a few minutes, the blue jay noticed how tired he was. "I guess I'm not used to all this flying," he admitted. He hadn't needed to fly around much lately. Not so long ago, the jay could fly and soar for hours at a time. Now it was much harder. Not finding any seeds, exhausted, he flew back to his nest, tired and hungry. "I'll try again tomorrow," he said hopefully. The blue jay's sleep was very uneasy that night. He was hungry and cold. Whenever he was awake, he thought of those delicious red berries and the sweet juice that filled his mouth when he bit into one. He needed those berries. He certainly did not need all the feathers he had. Perhaps he might not miss just a few. The next morning, the blue jay sat on his branch and pulled out 6 small white feathers from his breast. It didn't hurt as much as he thought it would. The pain soon went away, and he thought about those wonderful berries. "These aren't very big feathers," said the fox. "I can't give you 6 berries for these. I'll give you 3. "3 berries?" shocked and shouted. The bird shouted. "Not fair. I need more. How can you do this?" "Not my problem," said the fox, handing the bird 3 berries. Then he thoughtfully said, "I'll give you 3 more berries for one of your beautiful tail feathers." The jay considered the offer. He really did need those berries. If he ate the 6 berries, then he would have enough energy to find some seeds and nuts. They didn't taste as good as the berries, but they would not cost him any of his precious feathers. The bird pulled out his smallest tail feather with a wince and gave it to the fox. "There! Are you happy? Now give me my berries!" The fox obliged, and the bird devoured the wonderful berries. "Small price to pay to eat so well," he said to himself. When he flew back to his nest, he hardly missed his feathers at all. Later that day, when the jay was planning to look for seeds, he really didn't feel like doing anything at all. He sat on its branch that overlooked the beautiful forest, but he didn't see the beauty. He only thought about the berries. He had to have more. What feathers could he spare? Gently pulling out a few feathers here and a few there, he returned to the fox. "How many berries can I get for these?" he asked. "Oh, I'll give you 5 berries," said the fox. "5 berries? There must be a dozen feathers here. I want at least 6, demanded the bird. "I have a right to more berries." "Very well, here are 6, growled the fox. Feeling proud that he'd driven such a hard bargain, the blue jay flew away triumphantly with his 6 berries. Over the next few days, it became easier to part with his feathers. The blue jay could pluck a feather out without feeling anything at all. What the jay did notice, though, was that it became harder and harder to fly back to his nest. "Small price to pay to eat so well," he said to himself. One morning it began to rain. The blue jay liked the rain. It made everything smell so fresh, and it tasted so good. The jay flew down to get a drink, landing next to one of the puddles. He saw his reflection. It startled him. It was his own face, but he hardly recognized it. More than half of his beautiful feathers were gone. The rest were tattered and torn. "Who is this that I have become? What have I done?" What would his father think? What kind of lecture would he get? Probably something about great ancestry or proud heritage. The blue jay felt terrible and started to cry. "I wish I'd never tasted any of those berries." He promised himself that starting tomorrow he would hunt for seeds and nuts. Feeling better, he flew back to his nest and went to sleep. The next morning the blue jay awoke feeling tired and hungry. His first thought was for those delicious berries, but then he remembered his decision from the night before, to eat only seeds and nuts. He was so tired he didn't think he would have enough strength to fly. A few berries would give him the energy to look for other food. He decided to get 8 more berries, and they would be the last ones he would ever buy. As he flew from his branch down to the fox, he noticed he was descending very fast. He flapped his wings as fast as he could, but it didn't slow him down very much. He hit the ground with a thump. "Huh!" Dazed, he stood and walked over to the fox and asked, "I need 8 berries today. I'll give you one of my beautiful tail feathers and one from my right wing." "I'll give you the 8 berries, but I want 4 wing feathers," demanded the fox. The bird pulled 3 feathers from his right wing and said, "Here are 3, and I won't give you any more." "Very well," the fox said, handing the jay 8 berries. The blue jay had again made a very good bargain. He devoured the berries quickly. The blue jay tried to fly up to his branch, but he couldn't get off the ground. Embarrassed, he tried again, beating his wings faster. This time, but to no avail. Out of breath, he turned to the fox. "It seems I can't fly." "So I noticed," mused the fox as he stepped closer. The bird, sensing danger, frantically attempted flight one more time, but without success. "I would like to thank you for eating all those berries. I always like to fatten up my blue jays before I eat them. I also appreciate you plucking your own feathers. That way they won't get stuck in my teeth." "All you blue jays are such fools," the fox hissed. "You should be suspicious when things come to you too easily." With one bound, the fox was on the blue jay. "Ah, please!" gasped the bird. It was over quickly. It was a fine meal. The fox hadn't had a blue jay to eat for a week or so. All the trouble and work of gathering the berries had been well worth it. A small price to pay to eat so well. The end.